This is part one of me finding my fiance naked with his married co-worker on my wedding day. So we started dating in 2014 and we were supposed to get married September 30th, 2017. In the days leading up to the wedding, it was 5 days before, like something just not right with this one girl that he worked with. And I asked him about it and he's like, "You're crazy, there's nothing going on, yada yada." 5 days before the wedding, he's like, "You don't trust me enough to get married. We need to postpone. Like my whole life is falling apart," or that's how I felt at that time. We had met with our marriage counselors. They were like, "Kirsten, there's nothing going on. Like, he says there's nothing going on. There's nothing going on." We call off the wedding. I'm like very anxiety ridden because I'm like, okay, either he's cheating on me or like I've completely lost touch with reality. We made the decision that we would remain together and work on building trust. He told me that like it was my fault that we weren't gonna get married and it was just because I didn't trust him enough. So anyway, fast forward, it's September 30th, our wedding day, and I unlocked the door to the house that I had bought for us. So he had none of his own money in the house. I did the entire down payment, put it in both of our names. So I unlock the door to this house and walk inside, and he is butt naked. He's like, "Why are you here?" And I look down and I see some like girls' boots or women's boots. So I hear the master bedroom door close and I go in there and I find her and she's like put his clothes on that were in the closet. I called the police and reported an intruder. Anyway, she told me like, "We're in love, I'm leaving my husband, we're gonna be together." It later came out that they'd been having an affair for quite some time. She told me several months before I ever even became suspicious of her. During the time that he had been cheating on me, he's like telling me that I don't trust him enough. He took out a $500,000 life insurance policy on me. I had been heavily manipulated and told that I was losing my mind. The Monday after this happened on a Saturday, I sold my ring and used it to retain my attorney. I had bought us a house in June, like I said. He, up until the bitter end, tried to steal it out from under me. The husband of the girl that he was cheating on me with took her back, and bless his heart, they're still together to this day. My ex-fiance, he moved a different female co-worker into the house a few weeks later. She had moved herself, her dog, and her mom in, and then they were trying to demand that I pay the bills. 333 days later, I was free.
So I heard that. Well, I saw a quote on Instagram that says like nobody falls in love quicker than two co-workers. And listen, that previous story a while ago, that man is something else, because who's planning a whole life, a whole wedding with a whole woman, invitation, money spent, everything for marriage to somebody, and you have an entire relationship with your co-worker who is also married, by the way, and say finally catch you, and that ended the relationship. You don't only leave it there, so you go back and you find another co-worker, you move her into the house. Guys, thanks for clicking on today's video. If you see my face for the very first time, my name is Jodi, sharing how they caught their boyfriend cheated, or how they knew they were being cheated on, pretty much their experiences and stuff like that. And most of the times these men basically tell on themselves too. So yeah, anyway guys, remember to like, comment, and of course subscribe if you enjoy content like these. Let's get into today's video.
Story time on how I found out I was getting cheated on. And just to be clear, this is not about my current relationship. My current relationship is the best thing that has honestly ever happened to me. The story is about my ex. So just to be respectful, let's go ahead and call my ex Bob, okay? Bob was one smooth talking individual. Bob's mouth was so slick, he could convince you that the sky was purple even though you knew dang on well that it was blue. So this happened back in 2019, 2020, somewhere around there. So Bob had a brother, and Bob's brother had a girlfriend as well. Now keep this in mind. Me and Bob's brother's girlfriend, we were friends. We would hang out together. Whenever my ex and her boyfriend were hanging out together, me and her would just like go do stuff on our own. Like we were actually cool. Like it wasn't to the extreme to where I was like, oh my gosh, like she's like a sister to me. However, we were still cool enough to where I didn't think, emphasis on the think, that she would basically go behind my back. Now obviously I'm not thinking nothing at all. Like we're all cool. We'll go over to Bob's brother's house. Like we'll all hang out together, have little parties, the basic stuff that people do together. It was to the point to where I was like, yeah, like this honestly feels like family, or so I thought. Now later down the line, I end up finding out that Bob's brother's girlfriend, she has a sister. She was almost as old as we were, but literally it was honestly like just put out there that she had a sister and that was it. I never seen her before. Keep in mind, me and my ex were together for 4 years. I never saw this girl, never saw a picture of her. Even Bob's brother's girlfriend even would tell me, she's like, no, like me and my sister aren't that close, but I do have a sister. She lives with her boyfriend. And like when she said that, I could definitely relate to it because I have an older sister and I don't talk to my older sister. So it's just like we could talk about stuff like similar, you know, because I could relate to what she was saying. And me, I'm the type of person, I'm not about to ask questions about people that are irrelevant to me or serve no purpose. So I never thought to ask her, oh, what does your sister look like? All I knew was her sister's name, and that was it. Now, don't get me wrong, the sister was definitely brought up in conversation, like in references to why she doesn't come around and why we never see her. Bob's brother's girlfriend basically said that her boyfriend was crazy, didn't let her do anything, he was controlling, that they just stayed under each other's throat all the time because they basically didn't trust each other and the relationship was toxic. So whenever she said that, I was like, oh yeah, absolutely not. I don't even want to associate myself with someone like that. I'm good on it. Now, fast forward 4 to 8 months, somewhere in between there, I ended up having a birthday party, okay? Now, the party was hosted at my parents' house. Party was invite only, and then it ended up like getting like way out of hand and turned into like this Project X thing that like cops showed up, a whole bunch of people showed up that I didn't even invite. Like, it was insane. Anyways, my ex's brother's girlfriend asked me if she could invite her sister, and I was just like, you don't even talk to this girl. Like, you were talking bad about her and all these other things. But then again, at the same time, I was just like, you know, but that's her sister, so why not? Me being as nice as I was just like, oh yeah, like, sure, girl, you can bring her. Like, of course, like, the more the merrier, right? Now, keep this in mind. By the time my ex's brother and his girlfriend and her sister showed up, I was already lit. So it was kind of like one of those things. I seen them and it was like, hey, and I left. I didn't really say too much. I kind of did what I had to and walked away, not even really seeing who it was or anything, because we were having a great time. Now, after all of this, like, I was trying to make my rounds and trying to interact with everyone, you know, take pictures, people were trying to take shots, everything. So I noticed maybe like 2 hours in that my ex's brother's girlfriend's sister, so her +1, was basically like staring at my ex like really hard, like across the room. But me being me, I didn't think anything of it because I was just like, oh, he wouldn't. And I didn't say anything, I didn't do anything, I just kind of like left it for what it was. So come the next morning, I still didn't say anything. Like, I basically almost forgot about it. So I was like, whatever, like, who cares? We cleaned up, we left. Now, fast forward a whole maybe 2 to 3 months later after the party. Keep in mind, this entire time, I'm still thinking that me and my ex's brother's girlfriend, like, we're still cool. We're still texting, you know, small little stuff. Oh, hey girl, like, we're coming over, or whatever the case is. No. After the party and they ended up leaving, me and my ex's relationship was starting to get a little rocky, to the point to where we were arguing a lot. We weren't hanging out as much, and he would just go over to his brother's house and I would stay at home and things like that. Him and his brother were really close, so he told him basically everything, and obviously his brother was going to tell his girlfriend, or if she was already there with him, she could hear everything, which was fine. So in the midst of all of that happening, she decided that she was going to go and tell my ex that her sister thought he was attractive, but obviously not in front of me or over text. This was during the time whenever we were fighting a lot and I wasn't going over there with him as much, and it was just like really awkward. That's whenever she decided to put her 2 cents in and basically extend the offer without extending the offer, if you know what I mean. We're running out of time. Meet me in part 2. So unfortunately, in my case, he bit the bait, okay? And I don't know if they exchanged or if she gave him her number or if it was the other way around. I honestly don't know. I never found that part out, but I really didn't care because all that matters is you did it, you know? Now at this time, I don't know what was in the air. I don't know what was going on, but like after this, like our relationship was just going downhill. Like, I mean, really, really bad. So I ended up finding out that in the midst of us having like this fighting period or whatever you want to call it, he was texting this girl the entire time. I'm talking about just texting. No, they were sexting. Like, they were making plans to like see each other and do stuff, and you get the point. And then after all that, I started to notice he didn't want me to go with him to his brother's house anymore. He was just, no, like, I don't think you should go over there with me. I just want to spend time with my brother by myself, blah, 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 blah. And me being me, I was just like telling myself, okay, like maybe I do need to give him his space, you know, like just being crazy. And at this time, I was very naive. So unfortunately, I stuck it out through all this. I was just basically letting one thing go through one ear and out the other, thinking that I was helping the entire situation. But little did I know, I was basically only helping him do what he was trying to do. So there ended up being like a point in time where he moved in with me and my family due to like some living arrangements that he had or whatever the case was. So that went down. And one day he had went to his brother's, came back, okay? He was gone all day. I literally mean all day. He left like at probably 10 o'clock in the morning, didn't come back until 7 o'clock at night. I didn't think much of it because I was just like, he's spending time with his brother, whatever the case is. At this time, it was like during Christmas, because I remember when he walked through the door, me and my mom were putting up the Christmas tree. As soon as he walked inside, I kid you not, went straight to the bathroom to take a shower. I need to take a shower. And I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, okay, like he's been out all day. He needs to take a shower. So as soon as he walked into the bathroom and shut the door, went in, because at my parents' house, whenever I lived there, I had a bathroom in my bedroom. So you had to go through whatever. As soon as he walked in there and closed the door, my mom is actually the one who pointed it out. And my mom said, why did he just go straight to the bathroom as soon as he just got here? And in my head, I'm just like, Mom, like, okay, like relax, you know, like it's not that serious. But now that I think about it, he was doing something he had no business doing. But even still, I thought nothing of it. And even whenever he got out, I went in the room and I told him, I was like, hey, like my mom just said blah, 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 trying to see like what he was saying. He literally was just like, he's like, I just wanted to take a shower. So I was just like, exactly, like that's what I thought. But like I said, not even knowing what he was really doing. Now, everybody knows that was definitely red flag number one. However, our relationship was already going to crap and I was in that moment of like trying to save it and not try to like make anything worse than what it already was. So I was just like kind of just like letting a lot of stuff just like go over the top. Now, keep in mind, during all of this, I still had no idea about his brother's girlfriends telling him that her sister thought he was attractive, nor did I know about them texting. Like he was basically being sneaky this entire time and I had no idea. So this was already like months of him repeatedly being disrespectful behind my back. So now we're gonna go ahead and fast forward about 8-9 months later. And in the midst, our relationship was like good, bad, good, bad. Like it literally was like 50. No, not even 50. It was more like 20-80. That's how weird it was. And for whatever reason, we both stayed in it. I don't know why, but we did. Now we're gonna fast forward a little bit more. I ended up having to go on a trip. I was trying to get him to go with me and he was just making excuses as to why he couldn't, etc., etc. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Me and my dad ended up going on this trip together. I was gone for a week in total. I lied. I think I was gone for like a week and 3 days in total. And as I was communicating with him through WhatsApp, 4 days in, he started being really weird. The moment I get out of town, he can't fall asleep on the phone with me, or if he is falling asleep on the phone with me, the phone's hanging up in the middle of the night. Like it was just really weird. And then even prior to me going on this trip, 2 weeks prior, he randomly decided to stop sharing his locations with me. Keep in mind, he knew my trip 2 weeks away from the time when he stopped sharing his locations. So you do the math. Now where I went was international, so there was no reception unless I basically paid for it. I had to communicate back home with everyone through WhatsApp. And keep in mind, all of a sudden when I got out of town, we were on the phone would hang up in the middle of the night, or he couldn't get on the phone at all because he was at his brother's. But little did I know, I couldn't see because he had stopped sharing his locations. I'm so sorry I gotta do this. Meet me in part 3. So whenever I was asking him like why was the phone hanging up or why we weren't getting on the phone, he just had like the best excuses that I've ever heard in my life. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Oh, maybe it's the reception, babe. Something's just wrong, blah, 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 blah. No, he was doing something. And I had even told him, I was like, I don't feel right. Something feels off and I cannot shake this feeling. He then went on to try to manipulate me and basically tell me, oh, like I like a confident woman. You're being really insecure right now. Like I'm not doing anything. This is exactly why we have problems. When I tell y'all, when there was like a little voice in my head that literally spoke to me and said word for word, he's sleeping with someone, I kid you not, I heard that clear as day across the world. So of course I asked him word for word, are you sleeping with someone? He said, of course, no. Something in my heart was just telling me otherwise and he was lying, but of course I let it go. And the night before I was coming home, like my flight was literally the next morning. That following night, it was like 10 o'clock back in Houston where he was at. He told me, he was like, my stomach hurts so bad. Oh my gosh, I'm about to go to the doctor. Keep in mind, that boy never would get sick. And if he was, it was something so small to the point he could just go to sleep and wake up and he would be fine. So when he said that, of course, me being me, I like freaked out. I was like, oh my goodness, like, are you okay? I was telling my dad, I called my mom and everything because I was actually genuinely worried about this man. He was lying, saying his mother went with him to the doctor and whatever the case was, which was also a lie. I had asked him for the paperwork. I was like, let me see what they said on the results. He basically just came up with this lie saying how they told him he needs to stop smoking, he doesn't need to be vaping, and he just needs to work on his health. My parents called bullcrap, but me being me, you can guess it again, I let it go. And I shouldn't have let it go, but you know what? I did. But don't get me wrong, at this point, my radar was already at an ultimate high with him because I was just like, there's too many red flags and there's no way that I'm just tripping 100% and you're just being honest. Like, there's no way. So fast forward, I come back from out of town, a couple months go by and some stuff starts to seem like it's going back to normal. He said I can go over to his brother's house because his brother broke up with his girlfriend. So now it was just us three. So I'm just like, I mean, I guess, like, whatever. But of course, me being me, I thought nothing of it because I was just happy to be back over there again. Now, since his brother was single, his brother had asked me if I had any friends that could come over so we could all hang out, kick it, you know, and go out. And of course I did. So I basically played wingman. So I had one of my homegirls come over. We all ended up hanging out. We went and got like some cool daiquiris. Like, we're just turning up at the house. Like, we're having a really good time. Everyone's getting along. Like, it was cool. And the only reason why I hooked him up with my homegirl is because I asked him, I was like, do you plan on getting back together with her? Because, you know, we're cool. And he was like, no, like, we're done, blah, 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 blah. And I hadn't talked to her in a while, obviously, since it was like the weird divide. So I was just like, okay, like, I'll take your word for it. Anyways, but the vibes were good. We were all having a good time. My friend and him hit it off like nothing. Now, they also ended up doing the deed together, and she ended up spending the night. Like, they were texting afterwards, like, not trying to get together, but it was more like of a mutual, like, oh, you think I'm cute, you're cute, we can hang out together and enjoy each other's company or whatever. However, that only happened once, but it still happened. And honestly, I was just thinking, I was like, I hope his brother and his girlfriend do not get back together because then I'm gonna feel so bad. And guess what? They ended up getting back together like a couple months later. Now, at the time, I can't remember exactly what was happening, but there was something like really rude and disrespectful coming from his brother's end towards me that I did not like. So whenever his brother and his girlfriend got back together, I took it upon myself to go and basically tell his girlfriend what happened while they were broken up, because his brother was just being completely disrespectful, like saying things. I can't really remember exactly what he said, but basically it was something harsh enough to where I went and told his girlfriend what happened. I know it wasn't right, but at the time I was just so angry and I did it. So after all of that, I decided to give her a call. And if I remember correctly, she was like busy, so she was like, let me call you back. And I was like, okay, cool. I remember like it was yesterday. I was sitting in the car waiting for her call back because I was about to spill the tea. Now, I ended up spilling the tea, but I didn't give her my friend's name or like her profile or none of that, but I just let her know it happened and I have receipts to prove to you that it did happen. And then after I went on to tell her, she just basically went to say, oh my gosh, like I had a feeling this whole time, like I knew, you know, all the good stuff. But check this out. She then added, before we got off the phone, well, basically, since you told me this, I think it's important that I share something with you too about Bob. And I was like, what? Wait, what do you mean? So she went on to spill the tea, and that's whenever she told me everything. She admitted that her sister found him attractive after the party that I had months back, and how they ended up exchanging numbers, that they've been texting this whole time, that he was talking bad about me to this girl, and just like basically almost everything that you could imagine that was said, it was said. And y'all remember whenever I said that he would go over to his brother's house without me? Well, there was a time where he went over there and his brother's girlfriend was there, and guess who else was there? Her sister was there. Come to find out, that's where him and her did the deed for the first time together. And she told me, she was like, yeah, my sister said that they were in the middle of it and you called him. And whenever you called him, like they stopped. And he walked outside and then walked back inside and was like, hey y'all, well, like I gotta go. Now, if you're putting the pieces together, makes sense as to why that day, whenever he came to my parents' house and went straight to the bathroom, he was trying to wash off his filth. And then in addition to all of that, I also was able to find out in the midst of this entire process that he had a threesome on me while I was out of town with my dad. He had a threesome with his brother's girlfriend's sister and her best friend. And whenever I was out of town and he was saying how he had to go to the doctor because his stomach was hurting, that's not why. He was trying to rush and get to the clinic before I got back so he can get tested. Which really goes to show how educated he was, because everybody knows it takes about 2 weeks for something to pop up in your system if there is something. So if that was the case, the entire situation was just crazy, and like that, I don't wish that on nobody. But yeah, that concludes my story time for today on how I got cheated on. I hope you guys enjoyed it. One thing that I can say is thank God that that is my past, because my future right now, my current man, God knows I prayed for a man like this. So with that being said, ladies, never settle for less. Bye.
So I just got home from dinner and I have been trying to decide if I even wanted to talk about this at all because it's horrible, but this past week an Amber Alert revealed that my boyfriend of a year and a half has been cheating on me. The boyfriend that I was building a life with, picking out rings and shutter colors with. So an Amber Alert went off on my phone. My boyfriend was out at a beer with the boys before immediately going to the airport. He had been acting super strange. So when this Amber Alert goes off, I go in the bedroom. I immediately smell cologne. Weird to put cologne on to go out for beers with the boys. So I see the Amber Alert is going off on the watch. I go to silence it. I've already tried to call him twice. No answer. Earlier that morning, I had sniffed my pillow because I just felt like something was off. He called me crazy. He said I was a psycho. I looked around the room. I felt like things had been moved. I felt like my sink, all my stuff under the sink had been moved. Called me absolutely crazy. So I pick up his Apple Watch, I silence the notification, and I immediately get an "I miss you already" text. It is the girl that he has been in a full-on relationship for the past 2 weeks. Like, "Good morning, beautiful. I miss you. I'm in it for the long haul, blah, blah, blah," text. All the while, he's laying his beautiful little head beside me every night, still planning our lives. So this is a full-on dual relationship, like dual life, mastermind, next level amount of deception type of shit. So when I get that text, I obviously scroll through all the texts and everything comes out. Not only is it her, it's other women too. But she's obviously getting the crux of it. She's getting the copy and paste of the love bombing that I got last year. So granted, my entire life has flashed before my eyes and every gut instinct I've ever had has just been like put in blinding lights. So yeah, that was my week. And moral of the story, there's so much of the story. I should probably do a part 2. Part of me doesn't want to do part 2 because I feel like, oh, like who needs to hear about this? But at the same time, this is crazy. Like, normal people do not do this to other humans, specifically ones they say I love you to, but like to anyone, because it's so cruel and disgusting and like quite literally puts people at risk, not only emotionally but physically, to engage in this kind of behavior. It goes against everything that they say that they stand for. But I also just feel like a full-on 10 minutes on this is cringe. So like, my moral of the story is, if I would not have gotten that Amber Alert, if he would not have gotten the Amber Alert, I would have never known this. I probably would have married this man with him acting this way and being capable of this type of behavior once I was pregnant, once I had kids, like for the rest of my life. And so legitimately, I feel like an Amber Alert just saved my life. I know that they're used for much more serious situations, but for me, like that Amber Alert just changed the course of my life.
If you really pay attention, you will realize that men tell on themselves all the time. This is how I found out I was getting cheated on. I was in a long distance relationship with this guy who was my boyfriend at the time, definitely an ex now. And we planned to go on a cruise together, so we flew out separately from our cities. But he wound up missing his flight because he bleached his hair to a crisp, like it was breaking off. Luckily, he made his flight the next day and we were able to board our cruise. The cruise was so much fun. I was so sad when the cruise was over, but of course, all good things come to an end, and we had to get back to reality and fly back home to our respective states. I spent my entire flight looking through all of our pictures we took together, and I was just really sad to be going home without him. As we were descending, I got a shitload of texts from him, and I instantly knew that something was off. He was basically freaking out, saying that some crazy girl was going to DM me and make all these claims, but none of them are true. And at this point, Instagram was that girl, and I was getting hundreds of messages a day. My Wi-Fi kept on cutting in and out while I was searching for this DM, but I finally found it. The girl was basically saying that she had been seeing my ex and that they were just together, and as a matter of fact, he asked her to pick him up from the airport that evening. She said that she turned him down because she found out about me. and that he had a girlfriend. But I was really skeptical of her claims because my ex had a tendency to post everything like as he was doing it. So everybody knew his business. Of course, I DM'd her back asking for proof, and she sent me screenshots and a bunch of other things, but of course I was still in denial because I really wanted to believe my man over a stranger. My ex was so embarrassed that he fried his hair. That was the one thing that he did not put on social media. Like, he didn't want anybody to know. So when she mentioned that she was with him the day he missed his flight, helping him with his hair and putting coconut oil in it, I knew that she was telling the truth. This man came in the morning of our cruise reeking like coconut oil, and I even asked him, like, how do you know about coconut oil? And he was like, oh, my barber told me to use it. And I swear to you, I would have never seen that DM if he did not tell me about it. He was trying to get ahead of the game, but instead he played himself in the worst way possible. But there is so much more to the story, so let me know if you want a part 2. Moral of the story is, when men tell on themselves, believe them the first time.
Made it to the end of the video, and you know, you find that most of these stories are very similar. One, when the men get caught, them try to bury being caught with a lie. So it's a lie on top of the lie. There's absolutely no accountability, and I think that's one of the things, you know, because cheating is one thing, and you can make mistake, you can get carried away. I'm not gonna say that I mean you must allow your partner to cheat, but if it does happen, it is what he does after he was caught. Was he sorry, or him just try to cover the lie or make you believe so you're crazy? Like most of these women are basically the man, they make them feel that them crazy, them go cuckoo for cocoa puff, they're mad, they not see what they must say, and that is what they do. The narcissistic behavior, the constant gaslighting. So my question to you is, have you ever been cheated on? And if you have, oh, you find out, oh, you know, and what did your partner do when you confronted them? Sound off down in the comment section below. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Jodi, and I aspire to inspire. Until next time, guys, walk good.